Welcome to workout number 1 of our C-section recovery plan. Designed specifically with my C-section mamas in mind, this program is gentle and will help heal and rebuild your body post-C-section. This plan can be done by anyone who's postpartum or just looking to strengthen your body. You'll need a mat and we'll work for 50 seconds and rest for 10 at your own pace. Let's get started. Hey mamas, welcome to workout number 1 of our C-section recovery program. This program is a 10 workout program designed to heal, rebuild, and strengthen your body post C-section specifically. If you haven't had a C-section, you can still do this workout with us and get benefits. So we're gonna start, we're gonna work 50 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and all you need is a mat. So let's jump in. You're gonna come down onto your hands and knees or any soft surface, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and we're gonna do some deep breathing. We're gonna inhale, inflate the belly, just let it hang. Exhale, pull your belly button in toward your spine nice and tight. Let's do that again. Inhale, relax the core. Exhale, draw that belly in, brace hard. Keep moving. This one's best done not talking, but I'm gonna keep coaching you through it. So nice and slow, deep breaths. When you exhale, try to let all that air out of your belly. Like you're letting the air out of a balloon. So you're filling the balloon up, exhaling, getting that air all the way out of the balloon like you're deflating it. And this is gonna help us engage our transverse abdominals and get them warm for the rest of the workout. All right, let's rest. We're gonna stay on our hands and knees like that. I want you to keep that belly button pulled in toward your spine like you just did. We're gonna do a bird dog, just the arms. So your front arm is gonna reach forward and down. Opposite arm forward and down. If you want to make it a little bit harder, you can reach up straight in front, about shoulder level with that arm. Now what I'm trying to do and be mindful of is keeping my belly button pulled in toward my spine, so I'm gauging my transverse abdominis, those deep abdominal muscles which we want to recover from carrying a baby and giving birth. And then I'm trying to stabilize my hips, so my hips aren't shifting side to side. As I lift one arm, the other arm presses firmly into the mat. I'm keeping my core tight. Again, I don't want to relax it as I'm moving here because I want to keep those abdominal muscles switched on, and that's why we started with that breath work. That really turns on those abdominal muscles. Now we're spending 50 seconds in each exercise. If you need to take a break at any point, go for it, but we'll get 10 seconds right here. So shift back onto those hips just for a quick child's pose, and we're gonna do that same exercise, the bird dog, this time just the legs. So shift back forward. I want those shoulders over your wrists. We're gonna take that front leg, extend it back about hip level or a little lower, and then drop it down nice and slowly. Back leg, extend it back, and then down. So you can see, again, my belly button's pulling in toward my spine. I'm really trying to keep my core tight. Hands over shoulder, or hands under shoulders, knees under hips as I come down, and then that opposite leg is just extending back. I'm driving through my heel. I'm trying to keep my spine nice and long, so I'm looking out just a couple inches in front of my fingertips, squeezing my glute as I lift the leg, and again, trying to move everything really controlled, nice and slow. Again, we are gonna feel the hips shift a little bit in this exercise. The arms might move a little bit, but again, we're trying to minimize that movement, again, so we control from the core. And that's our foundation for healing from a C-section. Last one, let's finish one more on this leg. I gotta get an even amount. And rest. Okay, now we're gonna move onto our backs for a glute bridge. So carefully come down. We're gonna bring our feet close to our hips, hands by your side, and we're gonna lift the hips up and then gently tap down. Now we did timed intervals today because I want you to feel freedom to work at your own pace. I'm several months out postpartum now. 3 months postpartum now, post C-section. But if you're just maybe getting cleared to exercise, say you're 6-8 weeks postpartum, you should move even slower than I'm moving. And everybody's gonna be at a different level of fitness. So take that into consideration. Okay, back to that bridge. I want you to squeeze your butt, drive through those heels. Your hips should be high, but not too high. If you feel it more on your quads, your hip flexors, I want you to lower your hips just a little bit so you feel it more in the back. Pulling that belly button in. Again, we're gonna keep doing that every exercise from now on. I want you to think belly button in towards spine, engaged core, rest. It's kind of gonna feel like you have Spanx on here. Okay, we're gonna move to a glute bridge pulse now. So we're gonna take the hips up and pulse it right here. So same movement, we're just adding that pulse. It should be about 2 inches movement Not a big movement. And again, if your hips are not as high, you can't get them as high, just take it lower to the floor. You're still engaging those deep core and pelvic floor muscles, and that's what we want to do here. So big misconception is with a C-section that you are not going to have any pelvic floor complications or weakness. That's not true. You're still engaging those muscles throughout childbirth, and you still have to repair them, and you still might have core dysfunction or pelvic floor dysfunction, even not having a vaginal birth. So we are going to work on strengthening and restoring those muscles to be strong functionally and not overactive or weak. Okay, now we're gonna move on to a heel slide. So we're gonna stay with that lower back pressing toward the floor, belly button pulled in. We're gonna take the front heel out, sliding it out on the mat and drag it in. Slide it out, drag it in. So we're pressing that low back toward the mat. As we push the heel away, we're bracing the core. As we pull it in, that's where you're really gonna feel those inner abdominal muscles contract. So keep that back down, keep the belly pulled in. And your heel might catch on the floor. That's not a big deal as you come out, but I really want you to feel that drag on the way in. That's where we feel that tension in the core. That's what we want. Again, great for the pelvic floor here. And pelvic floor issues or core issues or dysfunction might look like that pooch you see, the shelf. A lot of that will go away with time, but some of it's dysfunction. It could be back pain, it could be incontinence, rest, it could be tailbone pain, or just overall the diastasis recti symptoms, the gap. We're moving to the back side, the back leg. Brace that core, reset, and you might feel each side is different, and that's gonna be totally normal. And again, we wanna do things like this unilateral training, because that allows us to feel where is that dysfunction coming from. Maybe it's one side's weaker than the other, and that's very normal. Again, it's completely normal because everybody's gonna have a stronger and weaker side, but we wanna try to minimize that difference between the sides and get them more symmetrical. Dragging that heel in, really feel that resistance from the floor. Again, that low back's pressing toward the mat. If you really feel like your core is fatigued or your lower back is tense, rest. Take more breaks, ease into these workouts. Again, if you're newly postpartum, they might be more challenging for you. We're gonna do a single leg march lying on our back in a supine position. So we're gonna take the front leg up, over the hip, and down. Back leg comes up and down. So single leg march. So one at a time. Again, gently pressing that low back toward the floor. We're still keeping that belly braced. And that, again, may be harder to do for the duration that we're doing it. So if you need to do less, maybe 50 seconds is too long, do 30 and work your way up to it. But if at any point you feel like you cannot control that, your back is lifting, your belly is starting to kind of pooch or cone, that means you're not quite ready for the intensity of the exercise, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not strong, it just means you need to work your way up to it. So take your time and be patient with your body. I know it's hard to do, but your body's healing from a major surgery or childbirth, even if you didn't have a C-section. So you need to be patient and respect what your body has gone through and respectfully rebuild it. Let's rest. Okay, this time we're gonna take those legs up, out, in, and switch. So the knee comes up, extends out, in, and switch. So it's a single leg march with a little extension. So I'm going to about 45 degrees here. If that is too intense, you just stay with that single leg march that we just did and keep going. Or another option is instead of going 45, you go straight up. That's a little easier. But again, especially as you extend that leg, you're gonna feel more load. It's a longer lever, so the core is gonna work harder. So press your low back toward the floor when you extend, breathe out, and that's gonna help that TVA contract. The breath is important too. So although we're keeping our belly button pulled in, you never wanna be holding your breath here. Let's do one more and make it even. I know I'm kind of going over on the brakes, sorry. Okay, we're gonna move on to a good morning on our feet. So I want your feet under your hips, your hands across your chest, and we're gonna hinge from the hips, dropping that chest, and then coming up. So I said dropping your chest, more like hinging from your hips, keeping the chest lifted rather. So you want that back nice and straight, your hips hinging forward, chin tucked, eyes about 6 feet in front. And we're just gently hinging. So a hinge is different than a squat, right? Think of your hips as going back and that weight in your heels rather than your knees bending. Your knees will bend naturally as you hinge, but they shouldn't bend in order to lower your body. We want that back nice and flat, about parallel to the floor as we come down. But again, I don't want you to get down by rounding your spine. Keep those shoulder blades actively engaged, squeezing them together, and then squeeze the glutes as you come up too. Get all those back body muscles and rest. We're gonna move to a shallow squat now. So for this one, you're gonna take your feet a little bit wider than your hips, wherever is a comfortable position. Hands in front of your chest. We're just gonna squat down slowly, stand up. So shallow, meaning not super deep, right? We wanna give those muscles time to kind of get familiar with what we're doing here. And we don't wanna push too far. Again, we wanna gently warm up the core of the hips, especially if this is one of our first workouts postpartum, right? We wanna ease into it and not push to do too much too soon. So I'm keeping my hands in front of my chest. You can do whatever you want with your arms, just keep them off your legs. Make sure you're not pushing on your legs to go down in that squat. Now I'll show you from the side here. My weight is back in my heels. My knees are pushing in line with my toes, but they are not pushing over my toes. If you find that you're doing this, that's gonna put too much pressure on your knees and you're not getting that work in your hips and core. And again, chest up. If you're finding you're rounding your spine to get your hips down, don't go as low. It's a shallow squat. Let's rest here. We're gonna do an eccentric squat. So think that same movement. We're gonna go down slowly and come up quickly. We're gonna go a little bit deeper if you're ready for that. So we're gonna go down, 2, 3, stand up quick. And again, down, 2, 3, stand up quickly. So I'm going 3 counts down. If you need to go 4 or 5 counts down, you do that. You can go slower. There's no wrong way to do this, again, other than pushing your knees past your toes and then rounding that spine. We want to keep that chest up just like I showed you earlier. Good technique is the key to all these movements. It's not going to do your body any good if you're forcing them. So staying with that quality over quantity mentality throughout the workout, throughout this program is definitely what's going to get you results. Again, pulling that belly in toward the spine as we stand up, driving out of the heels, squeezing the glutes, and rest. Okay, we're gonna move on to a lateral lunge with a rotation. So you wanna make sure you have a little space here. We're gonna step side to side, reach and rotate. So we're gonna start with that right leg, step side, reach with that left arm toward the shin or the ankle, and then reach with the right arm to the ceiling, stand up, switch sides. Left leg, right arm reaches down, left arm reaches up, bring it in. So I'm going pretty deep. I want to sit my hip back into my hip, push my knee out in line with my middle toes, extend this leg, and rotate. If you cannot reach to your ankle, reach to your knee, reach to your shin, whatever you can do. If you can't even reach down, just do that lunge. So I'm giving you lots of options here because again, everybody's going to be in a different place. If you can get that rotation, you're getting that thoracic spine, that mobility work, and the hips and the core all in one. Rest. All right, we're gonna move to the end of our mat. We're gonna crawl forward into an inchworm onto our hands and knees. So we're gonna squat down and crawl. So when you're crawling, I want you to move nice and controlled, and then you're gonna drop your knees into that quadruped position, and then you're gonna crawl back through that squat. Come up, stand all the way up. Let's do that again. So we squat down first, then we crawl. Why do we do that? Because I want you to put that work into your hips. Then we brace the core right here, push out of those hands to come back. Same thing here, do not round that spine. Keep the chest up, sit back in that squat, stand up. If you cannot do that without rounding your back, just don't go as low in your squat and just stay more on the fingertips as you crawl. But if you can, if you've got that mobility, I want a deep squat as you come up. And you're thinking, I cannot get that deep. That's okay, you work your way up into it again. I've had a few months to recover and I do this for a living, so. All right, we're finished with that. We're gonna stay on the mat, on our hands and knees in that quadruped position, and we're gonna do a shoulder tap. So I want you to brace like we did in that first breathing exercise. Belly button towards spine, tap one shoulder, tap the other. Now, minimizing that movement just like we did in the bird dog. Pressing the knees toward the floor, pressing the hands into the mat. Keeping that core really engaged here. Nice flat back, so we're not rounding the spine. Neck is relaxed, chin is tucked, looking about 6 feet ahead. Trying to create stability here. Moving as slow and controlled as you need to go. Again, speed is not what we're aiming for in these workouts. We're aiming for controlled movements so we can allow that core to react in a way that gets it stronger. Really light as you put that hand down, relax. Okay, we're gonna move to a side forearm plank with a little hip dip. So we're gonna modify this to start. Bending the bottom leg, extending the top leg. Forearm is 90 degrees, and we're gonna lift the hip up. Lifting from that bottom hip, pulling the belly button in, engaging those obliques and the glutes. Gently put it down, do it again. So we go up and down. Now, 90 degrees in that forearm, so your elbow should be in line with your hip, and that fist should be forward. We're sucking in like we're swallowing a little blueberry right here. Squeezing that glute, try to lift from the underside of the waist so we get that whole underside of the waist stronger. The obliques are working, the deep core and pelvic floor muscles are working. Again, it's better if you don't talk through this. You can probably get a few more reps than I can if you're not talking to someone during this. Or maybe you are, maybe you're yelling at your kids. You can still do it though. I've got a toddler too, so I know what it's like. Okay, same thing, other side. Elbow in line with hip, 90 degrees. Brace that belly, lift and tap. If it helps you to put your hand here so you can think, lift that bottom hip and then gently lower it down. Again, we don't want to collapse into that shoulder. So if you feel it more in your shoulder than your core or your hips, I want you to try to take that pressure more into your core and your hips, less into that shoulder. Really press strong through that forearm. And again, if this is too long of an interval, shorten it. Go 20 seconds, 30, work your way up to it. Or you can just come up and hold the side plank, take the little hip dip out. We're almost done. This is our last exercise. All these exercises today, we're gonna advance and build on these exercises throughout the workout, throughout the program. So you're gonna see these moves again, and we're gonna take them up a level every time so you get stronger as the program progresses. There we have it, we're done. So that was workout number 1 from our C-section recovery program. For this program, we have 10 workouts, and I want you to go 1 to 2 weeks at a time per workout. So if you've just done workout number 1, stay with this one for at least a week or 2 before progressing to the next workout. It's designed to move progressively and advance as you advance and get stronger in your body. So stay with this workout number 1 for about a week. It's gentle enough to be done every day, but done 3 to 5 times a week is perfect. So let me know if you have questions or your thoughts in the comments, and we will see you back here for workout number 2.